Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share with you an accordion fold card that has 3 folds in it. The other day I shared an accordion fold card that had 8 folds in it, and I'll put a link to that video below so you can see that if you want to. It was actually a birthday card, but you could use the same technique for a Christmas card or whatever you liked. Anyway, today's has only got 3 folds and it uses the folds differently, so I'll share that with you now. I'm going to use white cardstock for my base. I'm going to cut one piece, which is going to be my card base, at 5 1/4 by 10 1/2, and I'm going to score that at 5 1/4 on the 10 1/2 inch edge. I'm also going to cut 2 pieces of cardstock that are 5 inches by 8 inches. And I'm going to score those at 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches and 7 inches. The measurements will be available on my blog if you can't remember them or haven't got time to write them down, but you can always pause the video, of course, and get your measurements that way. But if you want a written version, it will be on my blog, and as I said, there will be a link to that in the description box below. To start folding this, we're going to start at the score mark on the 4 inch line, and we're going to make a valley fold. Then we're going to work our way across the whole thing, doing valley, mountain until we get to the end. We're going to do that for both pieces. So when we put the 2 pieces together, we end up with something that looks like this. We're going to slip one inside of the other, and that's how we're going to join our card pieces together. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue, and I'm going to put that over one whole peak, I suppose you could call it. So you've got 2 sides, an upside and a downside. It doesn't matter whether you do this on the front or the back, so long as you've got one peak that is completely double. So spread your glue out, put one card section on top of the other. Make sure you've got them lined up exactly right so that your fold line will still fold nicely, and secure them in place. You can use double-sided tape or liquid glue for this, but I found that the little bit of wriggle room that you get with the liquid glue is a bit of a saviour really. Once you've got your 2 panels joined together, use your bone folder to burnish your folds again so that they're nice and crisp. Now we're going to attach our inner section that we've just created to the actual card base. So I'm using double-sided tape for this, and I'm putting 3 rows of 1/2 inch tape, so about 1.5 inches of tape. It doesn't have to go right along the whole 4 inches. And if you remember, this panel that we're putting in here is 5 inches tall, and our card base is 5 1/4 inches tall. So we're going to have a little white border at the top and the bottom, but we're not having a little white border on the outside edges. We're going to butt the edges of the centerpiece up level with the outside edge of the card base. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that using tape. I didn't find I needed any wriggle room there, so it worked okay for me, but if you think that you might want a bit of wriggle room, just add a little bit of glue on top of your tape, or use glue instead. Don't stick it down right the way down to the 4 inch mark. I think you really only need the 1.5 inches. Okay, time now to start decorating. So I'm going to use Kaisercraft Curiosity paper here. I've got a 6 1/2 inch paper pad. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and 6 pieces that are 5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Once I've got them cut out, I'm going to ink around the edge of each of them with a black ink cube. I'm using the Kaisercraft black ink cube. Once again, these measurements will be on my blog post, so if you didn't catch them, pop over there and check it out. Also, just a quick reminder that if you're not a subscriber to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe, and if you could give me a comment or a thumbs up, that would be fantastic as well. So if you do subscribe, it would be a good idea for you to click the bell next to the subscribe button, and then you'll be notified when I upload each new video. Now I'm going to use double-sided tape to attach all my pattern papers to the inside of my card. If you wanted to, you could leave off the pattern paper on the concertina section, but I just thought it would be nice to have a little bit of colour on there. And another piece of paper from the pattern pad that's sort of got a gloss to it in areas. I've trimmed that down to 5 inches square, and I'm going to use that on the front of my card. Before I do attach that to the front of my card though, I want to have a ribbon closure. So I've got some white satin ribbon that's about 3/8 of an inch wide, and I'm just going to lay some double-sided tape across the front of my card and the back of my card. This is going to hold my ribbon in place. Then I'm going to ink around the edge of the pattern paper that I cut for the front and attach that over the top of the ribbon, holding the ribbon securely in place. Because the ribbon goes around the back of the card, I cut a piece, I had a piece of scrap paper in my little bag, and I got a piece that was 5 1/4 inches by 1.5 inches, and I attached that to the back over the top of that ribbon. It doesn't serve any purpose except to cover up the ribbon and make sure that it doesn't get caught on things and that it will stay firmly in place. In the paper pack there are a couple of pages that have the pop-out embellishments, borders and things like that, so I've chosen a few things from there. 1 tag, 1 scallop circle and 1 label, and I'm going to use my crocodile to add a white eyelet to the tag and then tie some of the same ribbon through the tag as I used to keep my card closed. These are the pages I was talking about. The elements have had the edges inked, and now I'm going to attach the tag and the circle to the card front just flat down using glue. I will add my sentiment to the label before I attach it to the card. I'm going to use this LDRS Happy Birthday Stack stamp and die. They match each other, but you can buy them separately. I have stamped with clear ink, Versamark ink, and then heat embossed with black embossing powder. You get a whole heap of sentiments in one pass through, so I'm using these from a previous time that I've created them. They have a fishtail end on the die, but I didn't want that because it didn't look quite right when it was layered on this label. So I'm going to mat that onto a piece of the pale orange cardstock and then attach that to my label. Once again, I'm inking around the edge of each of the layers. Once I've got my sentiment stack ready, I use a bit of old chipboard scrap to add to the back of that because I want it risen up off of the card front, and then I use my glue to attach that sentiment to the front of the cardstock so it slightly overlaps the two elements that are already there. To create my my embellishments for this card, I'm going to use this picket fence stamp, and this picket fence stamp is called Flowers for the Picking, and this other stamp I'm going to use for the leaves. I'm going to stamp them with my StazOn jet black ink and then fussy cut them. Now the stamp is no longer available, but they do have a coordinating die that you could use with just pattern paper or plain cardstock. I will put a link to that in the description box below if you're interested in the die. And I'll also have a look and see if I can find a stamp that's similar, but you've probably got something in your stash that you can use anyway. And the leaf one is I've just tried to find a nice leaf stamp. I actually need to buy another leaf stamp because I haven't really got a good one. I'll have to go on the hunt for that. So I've just stamped these images onto pattern paper, and I've chosen 3 different pattern papers for the flowers and a couple of different ones I think for the leaves as well. And I've fussy cut them, as you can see, and now I'm just playing around with where I will place them. So once I'm happy with the look of where the flowers and leaves are placed, I'll go ahead and use my art glitter glue to attach them to the card. So now I'm going to start work on the inside of the card, decorating it. In that paper pack there was a couple of sheets of cut aparts that measure 3 1/4 by 2 1/8. So I cut those out, and I'm going to choose 3 of them. There are, I think, 6 on each page. I'm going to choose 3, and I'm going to use some of those flowers that I've already created to decorate the right hand edges, well, about 3/4 of the little panel, starting from the right hand edge and working my way in. Once I'm happy with the way they are positioned, I'm going to use my glue to attach them to the little panels. As I said, there were 2 sheets of this in the pad, so I cut the second sheet up as well, and I'm going to add those to the back of my panels so that when the card is open you won't be looking at a white back. The best way to do this is to attach the back and front panels together before you attach it to your card. With this first one I didn't, and it didn't work out the best because I don't want the backing to overlap the other side of the mountain fold. So my suggestion is join your 2 pieces together and then attach them to the card base. I attached the top one first, the lining up with the top of the pattern paper, and the bottom one lining up with the bottom of the pattern paper, and then centered the middle one up between them so that they're staggered. You can see here I'm just about to cut that piece off. I don't have to do that if I do it the other way. So you end up with your 3 pieces attached to the left hand edge of each of your peaks inside your card. To add a little bit of sparkle to my card, I'm going to use this Ranger's Ice Stickles in Diamond. It's glitter glue. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a dab of that to the centre of each one of my flowers, inside and outside of the card. Then I just stood that up and let that dry overnight. And that completes my card. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget there will be a link down below to the other accordion card I created a bit earlier. It is very pretty and very easy, and a lot of bang for your buck really with both of these cards. So yeah, thanks for being here with me, and I hope you can join me when I post my next video.